Okay, let's learn how to get big arms. Mr. Eric Janicki is going to teach us. Listen in, tune in, let's freaking go. Let's see what he's got to say. Gorilla looking motherfucker. Cheek curls, no good. Actually doesn't look that bad. But I'm going to show us something better. And this is out. Come on! What are we doing? Why do you gotta be perched? Imagine going to your gym. Oh, this incline looks great, but no, it's not gonna do any good. I'm gonna perch myself on it like this. So, and if we take a look at the caption here, you know, he goes on to say that sloppy cheek curls aren't gonna lead to growth, blah, blah, blah. Fire emoji, incline bench, supinated dumbbell curls, targets the long head of the biceps, enhancing peak development. Right there is where you lose me, and I'm done. And what I want to explain to you guys is that if you buy into this idea that exercise selection is what's going to lead to more muscle growth without any mention of the other factors that actually produce growth, how hard did you train? How many reps did you do? How many sets did you do? How long did you rest in between your workouts? How often did you hit the muscle? I'm just sick of it, because this is not what is actually going to lead to growth, and I've lived it and experienced it myself, and this kind of content always gets the most views, so I know a whole bunch of you motherfuckers are prone to getting pulled into it. And it's a waste of your time and energy because it's not what's going to actually lead to results. And I've been there myself when I first started out. I was the same. We all are. So no shade, but let's not focus on this, okay? And also, before I get any further into this, if you're going to point the finger at somebody and blame them, you got to point it back at yourself. So I'm going to point it back at myself, and I'm going to show a piece of content that I made. They got 3 million freaking views on Instagram. I'm not flexing. I'm just showing that this is the kind of content that leads to freaking views and pulls people in, but it's not actually the most productive. And guess what? This video is all about exercise selection. I don't mention a thing about these other parameters. It was a couple of years ago, and I was really bought into how to make content. Still good information, but let's watch it. Tune in. You can see what you think for yourself. Let me show you.
A recent study showed that training your muscles to a more stretched range of motion led to significantly better growth.
Stretching leads to more growth.
Triceps and had individuals train one arm with an exercise that puts an extensive stretch on the muscle, the other arm with an exercise that does not. Shockingly, the arm in the more stretched position saw 1.5 times more growth than the other arm. A related study looking at the hamstrings showed similar results. I think it would be smart to include in your program exercises that emphasize a stretch on the muscle. For hamstrings and glutes, deficit deadlifts. For quads, a Bulgarian split squat. For back, dumbbell pullovers. For chest, cable flies. For shoulders, cable raises across your body. For biceps, incline curls. For triceps, overhead extensions.
Okay, so there you go. You see it. And that gets 3 million views, 116,000 likes on Instagram. A year and a half ago. Okay? Prove my point. And I mentioned incline curls in there as well. And the scientific evidence is showing that maybe putting the muscles under more of a stretch leads to more growth. That's what everybody's big on right now. Well, tell you what, man. 10 years ago, plus, when I was first getting into lifting, there was a guy out there named Ben Pekulski, good guy, smart guy, gigantic bodybuilder like Eric Janicki, who was all about getting the muscles into the most shortened, contracted position possible. And everybody was on this train. And guess what? 10 years later, now everybody's saying the opposite. Guess what? 10 years in the future, who knows what the f*** they're going to be saying. My point is, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter, man. It's not the information that you need to grow, but it's pulling you in because it's visually appealing. Add some science. It's not wrong. Like, it's not like my video. It's not a bad video. His video, it's not necessarily bad, but the problem is that as content creators, there's this temptation to produce content that gets the most views. And unfortunately, there's a large swath of individuals that will always be here who are maybe earlier on in their lifting career or haven't seen it out to the end, that don't realize that this stuff doesn't really fucking matter. What exercise you do does not matter that much. Maybe some are a little better than others, but really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The way you structure your routine, your consistency, your intensity, and how you progress your training over time are the 3 things that actually lead to growth. That's what I've seen. I've lived it. That's why I feel passionate about this. And when I continue to see content like that, it just scratches my freaking nuts in the wrong way, whatever the hell that means. Point I want to make is that if this stuff pulls you in, realize that you go to the gym and then you go, oh, now I need to do my triceps like this. Now I need to do my biceps like this. And that's what's going to lead to growth. But if you still miss workouts, you don't train hard enough, you don't scale up your training over time, it's really not going to matter at all. It's just a small detail. It's a tiny piece of the pie that gets overrepresented within social media content because it's the content that leads to the most views. If I made a video and just said, hey man, the way that to grow your arms more is just to rest a little bit longer in between sets, allows you to do progressive overload a little bit better, so maybe a 2 to 5 minute window in between rest times, that content gets no freaking views. I've tried it. Nobody clicks because it's not visual. It doesn't pull you in. Here's a study. Here's a diagram of the human body, and here's this muscle. You got to make it about the muscles and the visuals and colors and this, and people need to feel like they're learning something new when there really isn't much new to learn. It's just simple foundational things of experimenting, progressing the weight. You've heard it all from me before. I guess I'll condense it down for anybody that's new. I think the most important things that actually lead to growth, pick a few exercises that work for you. It doesn't really matter what they are, whether it's a stretch position or short position. I really don't think it matters that much. And work to progress the amount of weight and reps that you can do. Use an extended rest window, ideally supersetting body parts so that you could go your chest press, boom, 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 8 to 15 reps all the way to failure. Take a 2 to 3 minute rest, do a back exercise, a rowing movement, boom, 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 all the way to failure. Rest another 2 to 4 minutes and repeat that superset for, maybe 5 rounds, and then pick 2 new exercises and do 5 more rounds. An adequate amount of volume, focusing on progressing the weight over time, and then adding some variety into the end of your session where you vary up the rest time, the rep range, the tempo, all these things so that you take advantage of the variety and novelty stimulus. All of these things have nothing really to do with exercise selection, and then the foundation underneath all of that is that you always go to your sessions and that you develop more and more intensity and motivation and drive into it. And that's it. That's what I've seen to be true and accurate. And last thing I want to finish on is that I'm very appreciative of the community. Anybody who watches my videos, leave a like, leave a comment, even just view it. I greatly appreciate you because eventually I got tired of making this kind of content. I just ran out of ideas and I felt like it's not wrong, it's not bad, but I just don't feel like it's hitting at the truth of what I actually believe is going to help people. And so I started making long form YouTube videos more recently where I just talk about what I think is actually true based on my experience experimenting on myself for years and years and years and analyzing what's going on and sharing that with you for you to digest and experiment on yourself. And I think that process is going to lead to more results for everyone. And so what I want to say is thank you to anybody that's watched and left a comment. Some of the comments are very constructive, very thoughtful, and it's much more fulfilling to be able to talk out a full concept of what I think actually leads to growth and create this discussion. I'm not right about everything. Some of these things are wrong. It's based off my own personal experience. Other people see different things. I'm not saying this is a law, but to me it's such a more constructive space to be able to talk about the ideas that I'm seeing to be actually the most predictive of muscle growth, and then see people digesting them in that way too. In the comments that you guys leave, and sometimes people suggest things that I'm like, that's a really good idea. I never even thought of that. I haven't tried that yet. I'm going to take that to my next session and apply it. And just by reading the comments, I can see that people are thinking about it critically. And to me, that's such a better avenue to be on in your lifting journey. Instead of just getting caught into this clickbaity visual stuff that it's just pulling you in, man. It's not, and it's taking advantage. It's hitting at where your vulnerabilities are and your desire for something quick and flashy, some kind of quick flashy solution. But it takes you away from putting that energy into what you should actually be channeling it into. And so end result, I think it actually hurts your progress because you're getting distracted in these things. And the same thing happened to me. And that's, again, why I got all fired up about it. But I just want to say thank you for anybody that's watching and supporting. And I hope that this helps you to, maybe change where you channel your energy in terms of your focus and your training. If you're new here, just get up there and make some more gains, man. It ain't actually that complicated. All this content making you think you need to do a perched up frickin' preacher curl scarecrow maneuver.